Today, we heard from the former director of the CDC for the first time since she was fired, just 29 days after being confirmed by the Senate. Susan Menarez, who was chosen and nominated by Donald Trump, testified before the Senate Health Committee about how she was fired for, quote, holding the line on scientific integrity, telling senators about the meeting with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that ultimately led to her dismissal.
What happens when science collides with politics? Today, we heard explosive testimony from a fired CDC director who says she lost her job for standing by scientific integrity. Let's break this down.
On the morning of August 25th, Secretary Kennedy demanded two things of me that were inconsistent with my oath of office and the ethics required of a public official. He directed me to commit in advance to approving every ACIP recommendation, regardless of the scientific evidence. He also directed me to dismiss career officials responsible for vaccine policy without cause. He said if I was unwilling to do both, I should resign. I responded that I could not pre-approve recommendations without reviewing the evidence, and I had no basis to fire scientific experts. He told me he had already spoken with the White House several times about having me removed. I told the secretary that if he believed he could not trust me, he could fire me. The next day, I was told I still had my job, but the secretary's expectations remained: approval of ACIP recommendations and dismissal of career scientists. I would not commit to that, and I believe it is the true reason I was fired.
Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, is the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which held today's hearing, and he joins me now. Senator, I knew the outlines of this story. Of course, we covered it. It was reported. I found the testimony today truly shocking, what Ms. Menarez detailed. What was your reaction?
Think about what she's saying here. Pressured to pre-approve vaccine recommendations without even reviewing the evidence. That's not science. That's politics hijacking science.
Well, I think it was shocking, and I think two major issues popped out at me, Chris. Number one was the ferocity upon which the Kennedy people are prepared to undermine the science of vaccines. Her great crime, and the reason she was fired, as she just said, is she didn't pre-approve a set of principles that she had not seen, okay, regarding vaccines. Now, why these people want to defy what every major medical organization believes, what every scientific organization believes, which is that not only are vaccines safe and effective, they have saved millions and millions of lives. So I honestly do not understand why they want to break the people's trust in vaccines. And by the way, as we discussed at the hearing, what I fear about is not only what happens for our kids today and in the immediate future. Most of the scientists believe that another pandemic is coming. They don't know what it will look like. They don't know when it will be. And what Kennedy is doing is making it very difficult for us to prepare for that pandemic, which, God forbid, could take millions of lives. The second issue that popped out of me today was the authoritarian nature of what Kennedy and his people do. You hire somebody to be head of the CDC, one of the most important public health officials in America, and then you say, it doesn't matter what you think.
Right.
This is what we will tell you. We are politicians. You do what we want. You don't want to do it, you are out of here. Those are the things that popped up to me today.
Not only that, I mean, she told your colleague, Senator Cassidy, who, sort of hemmed and hawed and reluctantly voted for Kennedy, even though he's a doctor, and now seems to be having a little buyer's remorse, that they're going to change the childhood vaccine schedule, like for the whole country, and that book is already cooked, that the fix is in.
Well, we will see what happens tomorrow. Their meeting is tomorrow.
Bernie Sanders calls this authoritarianism, not public health leadership. And he's not wrong. Imagine firing experts just to replace them with vaccine skeptics.
But the idea that you fire all of the people who are on that committee and you bring in people who are vaccine skeptics is rather extraordinary. So what we are looking at, Chris, and this is the point that everyone has got to understand, every medical organization in America representing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of doctors, the AMA, the pediatrics people, the osteopaths, all of the major organizations understand the importance of vaccines. And you have people involved in conspiracy theory trying to undermine the trust the American people have.
I want to just read to you, this is Robert Malone, who is one of these individuals who has been appointed to this committee that is going to determine the childhood vaccine, the one whose recommendations were that Ms. Menarez was, or Dr. Menarez was supposed to just approve sight unseen.
And who's being put in charge instead? People openly pushing conspiracy theories, the same people now tasked with making decisions about childhood vaccines.
This is him watching the hearing today, saying the CIA trains people how to lie and manipulate others. That is a fact. Has she been trained to lie by our intelligence community? Like, this is one of the people that's going to be making the child vaccine recommendations.
What can I tell you? I wish I could tell you it's unbelievable. That is what's going on in Washington right now. This is the kind of person you have who will be determining policies to protect the health of Americans' kids. I mean, that's basically nuts.
Since I have you here, you have long talked a lot about the U.S. media, about how the media operates and controlled, and particularly its ownership and the threats that can pose to the free and fair expression of a range of views. So I have to get your reaction to the FCC commissioner directly threatening both local affiliates and Disney earlier today, saying we can do it the easy way or the hard way, and then subsequently both the affiliates and then Disney deciding to preemptively take Jimmy Kimmel off the air.
Look, I mean, you've heard me say this a million times.
But it's not just about vaccines. This hearing also exposed something even bigger, a push against free media and a growing authoritarian streak in Washington.
This country is rapidly moving toward an authoritarian form of society. In authoritarian countries like Russia and others, Saudi Arabia, you do not have a media that is allowed to be critical of the government. Trump just, what was it yesterday, the day before, announced a $50 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. Today, the head of the FCC basically says, I don't like what this guy said, and we could take away your license. You better get rid of him. So this is just another step forward, and we have got to, some of us are working really hard to rally the American people, not only against this authoritarianism, but this war against the working class, the massive tax breaks for the rich, the cuts in Medicaid. People should be aware that as a result of this Trump's big, beautiful bill, your health care premiums, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whatever, independent, could go up by 75% because they're taking away the credits for the ACA.
Yeah.
So, we got some crises. We're trying to rally the American people against oligarchy, against authoritarianism, against the war on the working class that we're currently seeing.
So let's be clear. This isn't just about one fired CDC director. It's about whether truth, science, and even free speech can survive in an era where political power tries to crush all three. What do you think? Is this the beginning of something bigger?